What is the most surprising secret someone has revealed to you? A friend in college revealed that she was the product of incest between her mother and grandfather. From what I remember of the story, she was told by her mother that it was consensual but they are no longer together, although her grandfather is still around and a part of the family. Incest apparently ran in my girlfriend's family, well, cousins and whatnot because upper class American. I call her Spudsy now on occasion. Very drunk guy once told me he'd been paid to blow up a M lab, presumably with people inside. He had the right kind of military and personal background to make that claim absolutely believable, and I have no doubt he did it. I don't, however, know why he told me. I don't think he remembered telling me afterwards, and I wasn't about to bring it back up. Probably for the best. Don't want to come home one day to suddenly find you own a M lab. Really rich guy, genius by all accounts, academic, well decorated, business guru, etc. And honestly, a really great guy, so he sort of mentored me, and he liked to tell stories. One day he gets drunk and basically tells me yeah, all my businesses lose money, I'm not sure anything I've done is really very valuable at all. I got lucky and invested in the right dog food company and made around $100 million and that's basically how I am where I am. It was unreal, but I'm very happy for the guy. Fake it till you make it is 100% legitimate. Honestly, his story is more common than if he had profited off the first few. My sister told me she dated a coke dealer who made $30k a month. She broke it off with him after realizing how much trouble she could end up in by being associated with him. At least she realized it. I'm honestly surprised she didn't get blindsided by all the crap he could buy her. I had an ex brag about how her drug dealer ex made $25k a year selling drugs, so I googled AVG salary ranges for her. We broke up a week later. My conservative Christian mother told me she was currently growing marijuana behind the pond. She'd been working on it for years. The Lord put this here, for me and for you. My best friend and his wife had been trying unsuccessfully for years to conceive a second child. Then one day his wife told us she had secretly been taking birth control the whole time, that their first child was more work than she thought it would be and she didn't want a second. WTF. Looks like they could use some couples counseling. A friend of my parents randomly told me he was my father. I was 17 when he did and we were in the car driving to pick up some cakes for a dinner party organized by my parents. This happened to my grandfather, but he was 10 and his mother had just died, and his neighbor confessed he was his real father and invited him to live with him. As I was leaving grad school, my prof and academic advisor introduced me to his mistress. I couldn't stand the butthole, so yeah, I was pretty surprised he entrusted me with that information. Worked with a girl when I was 16. She was 17. We're talking about a date she had with a co-worker the night before and out of nowhere she throws in the fact that she's had 3 abortions. I have an acquaintance that revealed, while drunk, that him and his brother used to give each other BJs. His brother killed someone execution style at a party 2 weeks after he told me that. Throwaway time. A credentialed actuary once told me they never graduated from college and lied about it on their job application. Technically, actuaries don't need a degree, they just need to pass all the tests. It's just that a math degree really helps. A couple of weeks ago my friend drunkenly told me she's been in love with me for the past 3 years. She'd always joked about us getting married but I genuinely thought it was just jokes as we have both been in relationships for the past year or so. So yeah, that was pretty surprising. A professional in a high-ranking position once told me he ate dog biscuits as treats when he was a kid. They aren't that bad, except the green ones. The green ones were gross. My aunt caught me eating her dog's biscuits. Well, I was actually sharing them with the dog. Every time I came over she made sure she had some extra Milk-Bone biscuits for me and Buster. When my parents heard about it they were hysterical. I stopped when I was about 8 and realized that they taste like cardboard. One of my very religious friends had an abortion. That's one secret I'll be taking to the grave. Her family would disown her if they ever found out. Friend told me that her dad fingered her one time, likes to wrestle with her, and asks for pictures of her butt when she needs money. Whoa, gross. At a previous job, I found a wallet in the office. I opened it up and noticed one of the pictures had my manager in it and returned it to him. Upon greeting him, I said he had a nice family. He kinda laughed smugly and said, which one? The one here in town or the one 200 miles from here? I realized that the pictures of different women and kids weren't just relatives, rather his two families. Had my 8th grade English teacher tell me after class that the reason she showed up with wet, red eyes every morning was from crying because her husband had just left her for an 18-year-old. She was 40-ish. Sad, and totally inappropriate for her to share with you, but sad. Not one, but 2 guys from middle school that I was never even very close with have messaged me on FB after years without seeing each other and discussed their interest in changing genders. I was only mildly surprised by their secret. It's not really a big deal to me, but I was hella surprised that they trusted me to share that information with when the majority of their close friends and family didn't know. It's an honor to be trusted, but at the same time, WTF. I could be in butthole and tell everyone. Like you just did on Reddit. Jokes? I was on a soccer field as a defender. Because their team was small, they got some girls on their team to make up the numbers they needed. Technically because it was men's they weren't supposed to be there, but nobody would ever report it. And this girl who I am marking has been sitting up our end of the field for a while, because we were dominating their team. So I got to talking, as I do when I'm marking someone for like 5-10 minutes of no action down our end, and she just says yes. I am the girl who put dog food in her pee and got her dog to eat it out. You don't have to ask, and I'm not talking about it. I was stunned. I hadn't heard about this, but apparently it was known by a fair few people. Really caught me off guard. At no point could one come close to guessing paragraph 2 after reading paragraph 1. Nicely done. My friend's brother, I shot and killed a guy who was trying to rob me about 10 years ago. The cops came, but didn't even arrest me. They knew the guy as a repeat offender, and said I was lucky that I didn't get assaulted by him. Friend I used to work with casually told me one time that he used to go to blood drinking parties. Did not see that one coming. My old boss was having problems with his nut job wife again. He was going on and on about needing to get divorced, and my one friend who was there told him he should, since it would be better for him and their 2 sons not to be in this mess anymore. He looked us straight in the eye and said that if he did get divorced he probably would not have much to do with his boys after that. We just both looked at him in shock, waiting to see if he was joking or not, but he wasn't. Found out later he had pretty much done the same thing when he divorced his first wife. He raised her sons for 10 or 12 years as their stepdad, and as soon as they split he told them not to ever come around his place again, even though they had always had a good relationship before that. That really showed us what kind of butthole the guy was. The stress of living with his nut job wife ended up killing him at 50-year-old, by the way. I was at my wife's family's house playing cards one Thanksgiving after dinner. My mother-in-law and the rest of the older folks took cards pretty serious, and during one hand things got really freaking heated and an argument between my mother-in-law and her sister broke out. My wife's aunt accidentally blurted out a family secret in front of everyone that left all of us shocked. Kind of. Turns out my wife's oldest sister was not the biological daughter of my wife's dad, who had died when they were teenagers, and in fact her mom had gotten pregnant before they even met. My sister-in-law's biological dad had never known either, and they didn't meet until after this was disclosed. I say we were all kind of surprised because that sister is sort of the black sheep of the family and something never really jived. She also doesn't look like the other 3 daughters who are all biological. I see the guy at family gatherings now and I still don't know what his name is. I just refer to him as Family Crasher because he only shows up once a year or so, and it feels like he's just crashing our family parties, lol. I had to draw a family tree to keep that straight in my head. I am part of a university committee that arranges campus events for charity. Earlier this year we hosted a music festival that was quite successful. We all celebrated afterwards and got all the leftover booze. Students write SMH. Anyway, one of the guys on the committee, who I considered my friend, told me that he is part of a secret organization, a well-known racist organization that believes in social justice. They're pretty fricked up. They claim to protect people living on farms, but really most of them just beat up black people. South Africa. I didn't believe him, but he proved me wrong. He led me to his car where he showed me his uniform. They have ranks, and it was unmistakably genuine. I was surprised, totally disgusted, and no longer wished to be friends with this guy. I had been dating a guy for about 7 months when he confessed that he habitually blew his brother throughout high school. The pastor of a very large downtown church revealed to me, in strict confidence, the name of the anonymous organ donor who contributed several $1,000,000 for a new pipe organ. To my surprise, the organ donor was a man who groused endlessly about how loud the old organ was during services. Yet he gave a new instrument that was nearly triple the size of the previous one, and seemed to love it when the musician played with all the stops out. That she had 4 abortions between junior and senior year. She told us when she learned she was pregnant again and considering a 5th abortion. You'd think after the 2nd one in that shorter time period, someone would have told her about condoms and she would have, used them. Assuming each time was consensual, I guess. When I was 12 I had a friend over. We are both male, and for fun we decided to ride our bikes uptown and rent movies. We rented a movie I think was called Amazon Women from Beyond. LOL, it was just girls running around in tiny little suits, so it was cool by me. So fast forward, me and my friend Scott are watching this movie when after about 15 minutes he gets up and leaves, says he's got to go to the bathroom. About 5 minutes later he comes back in the room crying. I'm like, what's up man? He says, I got something to tell you and I'm scared because I don't want you to think I'm a freak. I'm like, what's up man? He says, well, when I watch a movie with naked or almost naked women in it, my dong gets hard and swells up. Now I'm really uncomfortable, and I said, yeah, that's how it works man. I had to explain, as much as I knew anyways, to him about that stuff. He was almost 100% sure there was something wrong with him. His parents didn't take care of him or teach him anything. Bro, I think I'm dying. Nah bruh, that's just a boner. It means you wanna fuck. Someone told me he let a girl put a bag over his head while she fricked him. She rode him till she came and then hopped off. Asked if the bag could stay on until she drove away. He was serious and not at all embarrassed. Still counts. Had a friend tell me that his now ex-wife and their friend gave him a tandem blow job. That was surprising. Would never have expected that from him. When my dad revealed he really worked for the CIA, I didn't believe him. He didn't look anything like 007 and had lots of nondescript, middle-aged friends. He drove me right into CIA headquarters. Then I believed him. Customers at my job, a married couple, told me how they're making homemade pee so he doesn't have to get another real job and he can stay home to take care of her crazy butt. He's 50ish, she's 25ish. They've been together for several years and have 2 kids. She's gorgeous. He's absolutely not. He frequently talks about her mental health issues, mostly depression related, like she isn't even standing right beside him. It just has this strange tone to it, like if you were talking about your dog. When she comes in without him, she seems very capable of taking care of herself just fine. I worked in a jail as a correctional officer for a year. One inmate who was absolutely loony told me he was secretly Jesus. I was pretty honored to have, secretly, met Christ. But then again he also told me he was real deal Super Saiyan just like those guys on Dragon Ball Z. Either way I met someone cool. Till, Jesus is a Saiyan. Out at a bar with 2 dudes I wasn't very close with. It was a Thursday and there's this drag show that goes down at the local gay bar. I love gay bars and drag shows, so when one of them brought it up it surprised me, but I was totally down for it. We start to pay our tabs and ditch the rest of the group. But while we're in limbo the one dude talks about how he was a stripper at a gay bar. The other admits that he was one, too. Then the guy says he eventually turned to doing drag because the money was better. The other dude admits he, too, had followed the same exact path. Here I sat in between 2 dudes that did drag once. My mind was blown. I knew the one dude was bi, and the other had heavy metal wigs, but if you looked at these guys you'd never expect that they did this or even had this, if anything, in common. During the days of AIM a very close friend of mine came out to me. Unfortunately I had a seizure a few hours earlier and just arrived home from the hospital when I saw some of his messages on AIM. He hadn't outright said it, but was hinting at it. We sent several messages back and forth. I was still really confused and wasn't even really sure what was going on. After about an hour he said he had to leave and he wasn't sure what was wrong with me, but I clearly don't understand what he's trying to say. I'm not sure why, but I didn't tell him I had a seizure only a few hours prior to our conversation. When I woke up the next day I decided to check out the chat log. BC he was clearly distressed about something and I was too fricked up to know what he was trying to tell me. I reread the chat log and it finally hit me. Oh. He's trying to tell me that he's gay. I was really surprised because I had known him for 15 years and never once thought he was gay. The student body president, valedictorian, and all around most popular guy in school confided in me at a graduation party as I took care of his nearly alcohol poisoned butt. He mentioned how his life is broken down and how he's addicted to various things and that he's ruined all his scholarship plans and is enlisting in the military. I was just like, okay, don't puke on me. After World War II, my grandfather went to the University of Connecticut for his MS, met my grandmother who was a librarian on campus, became a scientist, and the rest is history. This is the story I and my family knows. A few years ago we were talking about this and he casually mentioned that he originally wanted to be an obstetrician. The reason being, after all the death he saw during the war, he wanted to do the closest thing he could think of as doing God's work, and to him that was helping to bring babies into the world. He applied to and got accepted to Yale and fully intended on going. But the GI Bill ran out and he couldn't afford it. He went to the local state university and decided he could still help people by becoming a microbiologist. A great story, but he never mentioned it to my mother, her brother, or the grandkids before. So it was a little shocking to hear how easy it would have been for my family's history to have been different. Back in my high school days, a friend of mine that I have known for 5 years at that time, 11 years now, and I were waiting at McDonald's for 2 other friends to show up. So I was helping him with his math HW while we were waiting, and out of nowhere my friend said, "Yo, I have small nuts." I stopped, looked at him and began processing what I just heard as a smile turned to a grin to full laughter. Maybe my brain was fried from waiting and waiting, or doing the math calculations, but that confession just brought a spark to my brain activity and I just laughed and laughed for 5 minutes non-stop. I teared up, turned red, and my cheeks started to ache. He felt a little hurt from that, but after my laughing spree, we got to discussing about his small nuts, low self-esteem because of it, other issues he has, etc. Good times. When I was 11, I had a babysitter reveal the secret in her pants. For a few times, she let me play with her tea, and then she finally let me put my hand down her pants. She was all soft and furry and wet. I still JO to that to this day. 40 years later, she made me go wash my hands when I was done. Not most surprising but most recent. At the company Christmas party last Friday, a girl got super drunk and told me how bad she wants to bang our boss. I haven't told a soul, not even my best friend, and I don't think I'm going to tell anyone I know in person. Another co-worker proposition said best friend to a threesome with her husband. Christmas parties. A good friend of mine, let's call him Jack, who was from the ghettos, told me about how he had gotten in a fight with a guy, call him Dan, and beat him pretty badly. About 2 weeks later, Dan comes up to him, puts an arm around Jack's shoulder and says, "Hey, what's up, B?" Jack, not being a complete idiot, is aware of what's about to happen and is getting ready for it. Dan is standing to the right of Jack, so when Dan pulled out his gun, Jack was ready, grabbed Dan's wrist with his left hand, and held the gun away, and pulled out his own gun and shot at Dan twice. First hit him in the stomach and second missed. Then one of Dan's nearby friends started shooting at Jack and Jack's nearby friends shot back, and then everyone scattered. Dan survived, but had a bullet in his stomach and is prone to stomach issues for life. He moved out of Chicago. So basically, my good friend survived an assassination attempt. Not the only time he's been shot at either. I was in a group of friends on a local social media website. Occasionally, we would arrange dinners or drinks at a local restaurant for everyone to get together and socialize. We were all single and it was a singles kind of group. Well, there was this woman there who I liked but kind of felt wasn't right for me because she had kids. Well, actually, she had beautiful, well-mannered and intelligent kids, having met them before at a party she had, and I felt that I really could only frick that up, and besides I was out of a job and back at college, so I really wasn't good for much at the time, but I was well liked. In fact, I was kind of a celebrity in the group since I wrote a self-help column that offered some sage and sometimes savage advice about dating and relationships. Well, anyway, she was sitting with her friend, and after swearing me to secrecy she tells me that she was giving her next door neighbor BJ's anytime he wanted. She said they weren't in any kind of relationship, but she wanted to practice her BJ's and get feedback from him, and this was a way to achieve that since both of them were single. She claimed she gave awesome BJ's. Now, I'm on the fence about her already. On the one hand, I liked and admired her and found her attractive. On the other hand, I was hurting in my professional life and trying to put myself back together. I wasn't worried about being a burden since I had savings, but I also wasn't going to be able to take a lead either. Yes, she had kids, but they were pretty awesome kids, and the youngest was already 9. And on top of that, she comes at me with this information and I didn't know how to take it. Was this her way of flirting with me? Was she trying to encourage me to a physical relationship? Or was she simply proud of her achievement and wanted to share? I was asked to keep her secret, which makes me a confidant. But at the same time she would flirt with me about this and other things, so was it a sexual advance? I kept her secret, but I also didn't make any overture in response to her advance or other flirting. That was hard because I thought we were compatible in many ways and I admired her self-efficacy. I wish she had just said that she liked me. I could have worked with that. But since her flirting was always very public, in front of the group, and part of banter, I never felt any intimacy or like she thought of me as a sexual being or that there was an invitation. A friend accidentally suffocated her nephew who her parents had adopted as her older sister was unable to care for him. But apparently in the middle of the night my friend got up as a child, no older than 5, and put a pillow over his face to stop him crying. Did I mention the little boy was disabled? Told me on a college day trip. Kids at that age have no understanding of the consequences of their actions. There have been many kids killed because their young siblings didn't understand what they were doing. In the 90s I remember that quite a few kids ended up paralyzed because of their young siblings practicing wrestling moves with them. People seem to trust me enough to talk about their suicide attempts a lot. No idea why, but I was surprised how many people were suicidal at one time or another. That he was a vampire, a herbivore, I guess, but he thought he was a vampire. Live a really unhealthy lifestyle because of it, preferring raw meat to any other food and staying up till the small hours of the morning on school nights, on top of being depressed and suicidal. I was 16 and didn't know how to handle that kind of a secret. A very tough, hardcore, road warrior, super trucker type of guy telling me in a very offhanded way that he listens to gospel almost all the time he is on the road and his downloads are all either sermons or Christian podcasts. Not knocking him for his religion. We all got something that we do to get us through the day. It was just unexpected. Very unexpected. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.